All righty.
Is it ready?
Yeah, we're back. We're back again. Okay.
Well, when I met this beautiful lady, I guess I just fell in love with her right then. But anyway, I kept asking her if she might want to go out with an old truck driver. And anyway, I know one day I went in there, and maybe this is what might have changed her mind a little bit. I went in and bought a cup of coffee, left her $100 bill under the coffee cup, and went on and was going to my truck, and she come out the back door waving that $100 bill, and she said, "Hayden, you left me a $100 bill instead of a dollar bill." I said, "I know I did." So anyway, she kind of began to get a little bit more interested in me after that. So anyway, make a long story short, we married, and I married her and had a ready-made family, and I became very crazy about their kids, and actually they took me in, and they really thought a lot of me. And
well, we're not going to skip over it quite that fast.
Okay.
Let's go back. So she got $100 tip for a cup of coffee, and did she go out with you after that?
Yes, I asked her out another 2 or 3 times, and of course, she had her own car, and I was in the truck. And finally, she agreed to go out and have dinner with me. Of course, who needs a damn truck stop, you know? But anyway, I parked my truck on the parking lot, and got in the car with her, and that's what all started it. And then she moved down after we had gone together a little while. I'd go through there, and then she left that and started managing some apartments. And I'd come back from El Paso and go around.
Was that in Odessa? Was that in Odessa?
Yeah, that was in Odessa.
Okay.
And I'd come in from El Paso, and of course I'd take that truck over in the residential area, which was very much against the law of the company. But anyway, I wouldn't spend the night and then get up the next morning and come to San Angelo. And we lived, and then she moved down here with me to San Angelo, and we lived together for 4 years, and then we married in 1984. And of course, that's when I married and had the ready-made family. And one of my grandsons was about 2 months old when I got into the family. And of course, I was there for the other one, and of course, they would come down and stay with Hester and I, and we just thought the world of
I'm going to interrupt. He's talking about Ryan. He was only 2 days old. Not 2 months, 2 days.
Okay.
Okay.
You can sit down here beside him if you want to, honey. Move the
I got
cat.
cat shit and vomit.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that right now.
Honey, they're going to be coming. That chick's going to come in right through that door.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get back to this. I'm sorry, but anyway, so you saw Ryan right after he was born.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, a couple years down the road, here come Reese, and then TG, and then I don't know who was next after TG. Was it Chase?
I don't know what Chase was. I don't.
Chase, and then Chandler, and then finally Trevor.
Trevor, yes.
On that, so you had six
great grandkids, and they used to come down a whole lot in the summertime and stay with Hester and I. Each one of them, 2 of them would come down and spend like 2 weeks with us. And of course, I got Reese. Reese and his dad and mother were in Oklahoma at a lake in Oklahoma, kind of vacationing, and it was so hot, and Reese was about 6 or 8 months old, and Renee called us and was talking to her mother and asked her mother. Reese was just so unhappy asked her mother if she could bring her down here and leave her until they got over their little vacation. And
Yeah.
Hester turned around to me and said, would it be all right if Renee brought Reese down here? I said, hell no, I don't want him down here. Anyway, they knew better, so make a long story short, she got in the plane and came down here, and like I say, Reese was about probably 8 months old. And when Renee when they got out of the plane, Renee was coming into the airport, and Hester and I was waiting for him, and Reese just went to reaching for his daddy Hayden. He just couldn't wait to get in my arms, and of course I had a cigarette in my mouth. And you ought to saw how much trouble I had to hold in a kid that's wanting to get his arms around your neck and you still have a cigarette in your mouth. So anyway, that started on my way of stop smoking. My daughter, his mother, hated cigarette smoke big time, and that was part of it. But really and truly, I guess Reese was the one that saved my life, because I quit smoking, and when I quit smoking, I never picked up another cigarette. I quit. I had prostate surgery, and I was in the hospital 2 weeks, and I had kind of got that cigarette smoke or nicotine out of my body, and I had no problem whatsoever quitting.
Just put it down. So you think Reese had something to do with saving your life, huh?
Oh, hell, there's no doubt about it. Renee did too. She hated him cigarettes. Almighty, we'd have the argument. She'd say, roll them damn windows down, this smoke killing me. I said, honey, that's nothing. This smoke don't bother you that much. She said, yes, it does too. So anyway, we'd have a fuss every once in a while over those cigarettes. And it wasn't too long after that till I laid them down.
Well,
Thank you, Reese.
She said, thank you, Reese.
Yeah. Well, it saved my life, there's no doubt about that. I'm 92 years old now and doing pretty good, and if I hadn't have laid those cigarettes down, there's no way I have COPD now from that smoking, but I'd been dead a long time ago if I'd have continued smoking.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your 92 years and the 7 or 8 or 9 lives that you've had. You've had so many accidents and catastrophic things happen to you over the years.
Well, I have. I guess that prostate surgery. I had cancer in my prostate. That was, I don't remember when, way back there. Anyway, I had surgery there, and I was in the hospital a week, and Hester and I had started out the door, and my kidneys started leaking and leaked all over the front of my britches, and so we turned around and went back to the doctor, and he put me back in the hospital, and I spent another week. So that's probably the first major thing that happened.
And that was what, about, what year was that, about 85, 86, somewhere around there?
No, it was later than that. It was probably 92.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And then in 1996, I retired from Coca-Cola, and I went to work for a friend of mine driving a truck hauling cotton. And in 1997, we were loading grain on a truck over in Rowena, and I was watching. We were moving a train car. We had got one loaded, and we was moving this train car, and just barely was moving, and we was loading it from the top, so that auger, I'd have to watch, and when it got to a certain certain place, where I figured I could stop it just right, and it had a manual brake on it. So I got just one time, I got it to where I thought it ought to be, and I run over to to get up to go on the ladder to get up to turn to stop it to put the brake on, and I missed the ladder and stuck my foot under the wheel and cut my foot off. So I had that.
Let me stop just a minute. So I remember a story when you was telling that you kind of fell down on the ground and you could see the wheel coming towards you, and you thought you got your leg out. Isn't that right?
No, I couldn't get my leg out. I tried to jerk my leg out, pull my leg out from under it, and it had already got it trapped, and I couldn't get it out. But what you were thinking about, I think, is, of course, I was crawling. I couldn't walk on that foot, and I crawled out to the road, or out to where my truck was, where it was unloading, and I looked, I could see under the, I'm getting ahead of my story a little bit. The guy that was with me run across the street to use the phone to call the ambulance. And of course, at this time, that foot was not hurting at all. No bleeding, it sealed up the blood veins with this train running over it, you know. Anyway, I was looking under that truck and watching him go over there, and then I crawled on under it and crawled up to the side of the road, was going to wait for the ambulance. And a friend, a guy that I was working for had a son, and he happened to be driving by. He was about 22, Gary Hoffman. He was about 22, and he saw what was going on, and he pulled up and stopped. He said, "You want me to take you to the doctor?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So anyway, I got in the pickup with him and never bled a drop on his pickup. And anyway, I still wasn't hurting, and I told him, I said, call the hospital, which was around on the south side of San Angelo. And we got into about miles, and the feeling started coming back in that leg, and by the time we got within 10 miles of San Angelo, it was hurting me so bad I just could hardly stand it. So I told him, I said, "You better call St. John's." It was on the north side of town, northeast side of town. So anyway, so we went into St. John's and saw the doctor there, and I was really lucky I got a doctor that was on call. It was called Dr. Ryan. So he come in the next day, and after he had bandaged it up, and he told me, he said, "You cut this off," said, "you healed his left, part of your foot's left." But he said, "I don't know how we can put anything on it where you can walk on it." He said, "We need to cut it off between your knee and your ankle where you can wear a prosthesis." I said, "Well, you know more about it than I do, so we'll just do whatever you think we need to do." So this happened on a Saturday, and the following Friday, they took me in and cut it off between my knee and ankle. So I've had a prosthesis since 1997.
And how old were you? I'm trying to figure up the math, how old you might have been.
I retired at 65 in 93, so I was 68 when I...
68 years old. Okay.
I retired in 90, I'll get it right in a minute. I retired in 96 and cut my foot off in 97. And I retired at 65, so I was 66 when I cut my foot off.
Okay, all right. So
and then...
how long was your recovery before you got where you could put your prosthetic on?
I was on crutches for about 2 months, and then it took me a couple of weeks to get used to the prosthesis, and I went to the rehab here. Nicest guy you ever saw. His name was David. He was the guy that took care of the prosthesis, and he just tried so hard to get the prosthesis that would work, but we just never did get it done. And then he was offered a job down in Houston, and he left here and went to Houston. Well, I didn't have anybody here, so I'd heard about the prosthesis people in Abilene. So I went to Abilene and met the doctor there, and he fixed me a prosthesis, and I spent the night there, and then the next day I went back, and when I put that prosthesis on, I could have hugged his neck. It just felt so good. So that's where I but beginning to get a prosthesis that really works.
Well,
And,
that's a story that would have that'd have done a lot of people in. You know,
Yes,
it really would have.
And then the next thing, I guess, was the heart attack. A real good friend that I was in Korea with was down here from New Albany, Indiana, visiting.
What was his name?
Kenneth Pearl.
His wife was Ruby.
And yes, the wife was Ruby. They lived in New Albany, Indiana. He had his own plane, and they had flew down, and and Ruby had fixed her breakfast, and we went out and sat in the yard, and I told him, I said, damn, I've got indigestion. And so anyway, I started in the house, and I reached over and rubbed my arm a little bit, and he said, is your arm bothering you? And I said, well, a little bit, not bad. I said, I'm going to go get me a Tums and stop this. He said, get in the pickup, we're going to the emergency room right now. I said, no. He said, get in the pickup, we're going to the emergency room. So I did. He drove me to the emergency room. By the time we got to the emergency room, my chest was hurting so bad I could hardly stand it. Of course, we told them what happened, and they just grabbed me and took me in there and put me on the bed and put all that junk on me, you know, monitors. And there was a little nurse there, young, she had 3 kids, and she was sitting there, they put the monitor up above my head. I couldn't see it, of course. Anyway, she was sitting there holding my hand, and we were talking about my family, and she was talking about her family. Directly she said, oh shit, you're having a heart attack. So she jumped up and run and come back in just a minute with a syringe full of medicine. She said, I'm fixing to give you a $5,000 shot. I said, I can't afford it. She said, well, Medicare can. So she did and got me in. And anyway, make a long story short, I got over that, but then I wanted to tell you a little bit
Wait
about...
a minute, did you have open heart surgery?
No,
No.
I had a stent.
Oh, okay.
It was 98% blocked.
Okay.
And
All right.
and another thing, the doctor told me that it would if it would have been 30 minutes later, it would have been too late. So anyway,
So Ken saved your life.
I got ahead of my story a little bit. Ken and I were in Korea, and I went over there about 2 months before he did, and then he came over there, and I was squad leader. So anyway, I got to know him real well, and I made him my assistant squad leader. One day he had to take a crap, so we went out behind the line. We were on the front lines during the war, of course. And anyway, he had to take a crap, and we went out behind the lines, and I went with him, and he pulled his britches down, and he sat down and started to do his business. And I said, oh, Ken, get up, get up, get up. He said, I got to take a crap. I said, get up. He got up, and I pointed down there, and there was a bouncing Betty, which has about 3 or 4 prongs sticking up just barely out of the ground. And when you touch those prongs, it's like a grenade. It goes up in the air and explodes, and that shrapnel goes everywhere. So I saved his life.
So it was like
there.
a landmine then?
Huh?
Like a landmine?
Yes, like a landmine. So I more or less saved his life and mine. So after I got over this heart attack and all, the next time he came down, he said, well, it took me 50 years to get even with you, but said, you saved my life in Korea, and I saved your life up here. So, he's dead now. He died about a year ago.
We'll take a little break here again, just a second.